Emily Parker rushed across the busy streets of Seattle, her backpack bouncing against her shoulder as she weaved between people. She was late again, not for work this time, but for a massage appointment her friend Mia practically forced her to book. Emily didn't usually spend money on things like this. She didn't even like asking for help, especially from strangers. But weeks of stiffness in her neck and pressure behind her eyes made her desperate for a break. She had been working long hours trying to finish a design project that only seemed to grow bigger every day. Her job wasn't horrible, but it was draining. And lately she felt like she was carrying her entire life on her shoulders. Literally, she reached the wellness studio and pushed open the glass door. Soft music drifted through the air and the warm scent of lavender greeted her. It felt different from the cold air outside. Here, everything seemed calm, quiet, untouched by the rush of real life. Emily stood for a moment, letting her breathing slow down. Maybe Mia was right. Maybe she needed something like this. The receptionist smiled, told her the therapist would be with her soon, and guided her to a private room. Emily stepped inside, noticing the dim lights and the neatly arranged towels. She hugged her arms around herself, feeling nervous in a way she didn't expect. It wasn't fear, just a strange awareness of how tense she really was. She sat on the massage table and inhaled deeply, telling herself she just needed to relax. That was all. Nothing more. When the door opened, Emily looked up, expecting a soft-spoken woman in uniform. But instead, a man stepped inside. Tall, steady, early 30s. His presence didn't feel intimidating, just unexpectedly calm. His brown eyes were surprisingly gentle, the kind that made you slow down without realizing it. "Hi, Emily," he said. "I'm Adam. I'll be your therapist today." His voice was smooth, warm, and for some reason, it loosened something in her chest. She nodded, trying not to look awkward. He explained everything clearly, how the session would go. How she could tell him if anything didn't feel right. How her comfort was the priority. His professionalism eased her nerves. She lay down on her stomach, focusing on her breathing. The first touch was simple. Light pressure on her shoulders, warm hands, slow movement. Professional. Nothing strange. And yet, the moment his hands pressed into the tight muscles at the base of her neck, Emily felt a heaviness leave her body, like air escaping a balloon that had been overfilled for too long. "You've got a lot of tension here," Adam murmured. Emily let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding. "I guess I've been stressed," she said quietly. He didn't ask why. He didn't pry. He simply continued working, moving from one knot to another, easing each one with patience and care. The room felt warmer, safer, almost like a place where the world couldn't get inside. Emily closed her eyes, trying to shut off the constant stream of thoughts she lived with. But instead, new thoughts surfaced, undesired, vulnerable ones. She hadn't realized how empty she'd felt lately. How long she'd been moving through life without really living. How rare it was for her to feel comforted by someone. Anyone. When Adam's hands moved gently down the sides of her arms, she felt a rush of emotion she didn't expect. It wasn't romantic, not exactly. It wasn't anything inappropriate. It was simply the shock of feeling cared for, something she had forgotten the weight of. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. "Are you comfortable?" Adam asked, sensing the tension. "Yeah," she whispered. "I just didn't expect it to feel like this." He didn't question her meaning. He paused for a moment, giving her space, then continued with the same gentle professionalism. It wasn't his touch that overwhelmed her. It was what it represented, the reminder that she wasn't made of stone. That she was still capable of feeling warmth, even after months of shutting herself down. Emily tried to steady her breathing. She felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with the massage table. This stranger, without knowing a thing about her, had managed to unlock emotions she'd buried so deep she almost forgot they existed. The massage continued, slow and careful. Adam worked with quiet focus, never rushing, never breaking the calm atmosphere. Emily found herself drifting in and out of a soft mental fog. Memories surfaced: long nights at her desk, canceled plans, unanswered texts. Friendships that slowly faded because she was always too busy to nurture them. She wondered when she last let someone truly close. The session was supposed to make her muscles relax, but it did much more. It loosened her walls. When Adam placed his hand near her shoulder blade and applied gentle pressure, Emily felt something unexplainable, a mix of relief and ache. Not physical ache, emotional. The ache of realizing how lonely she had been. She blinked quickly, trying to hold back the sting behind her eyes. Crying during a massage was not something she planned on doing today. Deep breath, he said softly. She inhaled, exhaled, and for a second her entire body felt weightless. Maybe it was the music. Maybe the warmth of the room. Maybe Adam's calm energy. Or maybe it was simply the fact that someone was finally taking care of her. Even just for an hour, she didn't know. She only knew she didn't want the moment to end. Adam finished the final section of the massage, moving with the same steady rhythm. When he stepped back and told her she could take her time getting up, Emily slowly sat up, feeling strangely lighter yet more vulnerable than before. She adjusted her hair and her sweater, trying to regain her composure before he returned. The door opened quietly, and he stepped in with a glass of water. "How do you feel?" he asked. Emily hesitated. The true answer was complicated. She felt relief, but also a strange warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with muscles. Still, she kept her words simple. "Better," she said. "A lot better than I expected." He smiled, soft, reassuring. "I'm glad." There was nothing flirty, nothing inappropriate, nothing crossing any lines. Just kindness. Genuine human kindness, which somehow felt rarer than anything else in her life as she walked toward the exit with him. Emily noticed the small details, how he moved with quiet confidence, how he listened even when she didn't say much, how he made the room feel less heavy simply by being in it. She had met plenty of people in Seattle, but few who made her feel comfortable this quickly. Fewer who made her feel understood without words. When they reached the front desk, he said, "If you need another session, you can book it any time. No pressure." She nodded, but her thoughts were racing. Part of her wanted to pretend it was just an appointment, nothing unusual. But another part knew something had shifted inside her. Something she wasn't ready to name. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." "Take care, Emily," he replied. She stepped outside into the cool Seattle air. For a moment, she stood there, letting the breeze brush across her skin, grounding her. The city moved around her, cars racing past, people hurrying in all directions, but she felt strangely still. The session wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was supposed to be routine, simple, forgettable. But Emily knew she wouldn't forget it, not the calm, not the warmth, not the quiet moment when his hands eased her pain and opened something inside her she didn't realize was still alive. She walked down the sidewalk slowly, replaying the hour in her mind. The gentle voice, the steady touch, the sense of safety she couldn't explain. She didn't understand why it mattered so much. She didn't know what it meant. She only knew one thing. Something inside her had woken up, and she wasn't sure she was ready for what that meant. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the massage. She tried to tell herself it was just relaxation, a break from stress, nothing more. But her mind betrayed her. Every time she closed her eyes at night, she could feel the warmth of Adam's hands on her shoulders, the quiet calm in his voice, the way he made her feel lighter without saying much at all. It was unsettling. It was comforting. It was confusing. A week later, Emily found herself walking back into the same studio. She arrived early, heart thumping faster than she thought it would. She told herself it was for the massage, nothing else. But the truth was, she wanted to see him again. Just to feel the quiet peace he brought, to feel understood. She hated how much she wanted it. The door opened and Adam stepped in. The calm presence she remembered filled the room. "Good to see you again," he said, smiling. The simple words made her chest tighten. She nodded, trying to appear casual. The massage began. And as soon as his hands touched her, the same familiar warmth spread through her. Her muscles relaxed, yes, but something deeper was moving inside her too. It was as if every knot he eased in her back also untangled something tangled inside her heart. She wanted to tell him everything, but she didn't. She didn't know if she could. This time, though, it felt different. Not because of him, but because of her. She was noticing herself noticing him. Every careful movement, every gentle instruction, every look of concentration that didn't need words. She realized she had been starved for connection. Starved for someone who could make her feel safe without needing her to explain herself. Adam wasn't just massaging her body. He was calming her mind, quieting her worries, lifting invisible burdens. Her mind drifted, memories surfacing. She remembered quiet nights alone, staring at her laptop, hoping someone would notice she was struggling. She remembered the faint ache in her chest that had become normal, the loneliness that had settled in like a quiet shadow. And now, in this softly lit room with calming music and his hands steady on her back, she realized that shadow had been pushed aside, if only for a moment. At one point, his hand brushed lightly against hers, not intentionally. Not in a way that crossed boundaries, but accidental. Emily froze. She felt a shiver, subtle, the kind that only happens when you feel an unexpected closeness. She didn't pull away, and he didn't either. For a second, neither spoke. It was nothing physical, nothing improper. Just a touch that made her heart notice itself. Adam continued his work, professional.com, attentive. "You seem lighter today," he said quietly at one point. Emily blinked. She didn't know if he meant physically or emotionally, but the words pierced through her defenses. She whispered, "I feel better. Because of you." She almost wanted to take it back, to say it wasn't true, but the truth was impossible to hide. He paused, fingers on her shoulders, and nodded slowly. "I'm glad. That's what I hope for, helping people feel lighter." He didn't look embarrassed or awkward, just sincere. She wanted to reach out to say more, but she held herself back. Professional boundaries, she reminded herself. That was important. Even as she tried to keep it simple, Emily felt her emotions growing. Something was awakening that she hadn't felt in years. Not romance exactly, but awareness. Awareness that someone could care without needing anything in return. Awareness that her heart was capable of feeling without fear. Awareness that maybe, just maybe, she wanted to let someone in again. When the session ended, Adam guided her to the front of the studio. He didn't rush. He waited while she stood, letting her regain her balance. "If you ever need someone to talk to," he said, "not as a therapist, just as a person, I'm here." His voice was calm, measured, gentle. Emily's chest tightened at the offer. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't improper. It was something pure human kindness that she realized she had been craving. Emily nodded, unsure what to say. "Thank you," she said softly. It sounded hollow, but it wasn't. It was full of everything she couldn't put into words. He smiled, that quiet, warm smile that made her heart beat faster without intention. She walked outside into the cool Seattle air. The city felt the same, noisy, rushed, alive. But Emily felt different. She wasn't heavier anymore. She wasn't carrying everything alone. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or if she would feel this way again, but she knew something had changed. Something inside her had shifted. The following days were hard. Emily tried to return to normal work, deadlines, errands, but her mind kept drifting back to the massage. Not just the touch, not just the relaxation, but the feeling of being understood. She hadn't realized how starved she was for that. She caught herself thinking of him in quiet moments, replaying the calm, measured voice, the patient hands. The way he made the world feel softer. She started noticing small things. A coffee shop, she passed a song on the radio. A quiet sunset over Puget Sound, everything made her think of the gentle calm she had felt in that room. She realized it wasn't just about physical relief anymore. It was about emotional relief. She realized she wanted more moments like that, more connection, more understanding. Finally, she made a decision. She called the studio again, trying to sound casual, as if she were only booking a regular session. But inside she was nervous. What would it mean if she came back? Could she handle feeling so open again? Could she handle realizing she wanted more than she should? The next session came, and Emily arrived earlier than she needed to. Her heart was a jumble of anticipation and fear. The door opened, and Adam stepped in. "Emily," he said, smiling. The way he said her name sent a shiver through her, not inappropriate, but undeniable. She realized her feelings were stronger than she thought. Not love, not yet, but something deep and stirring. The massage started, and once again, the calm washed over her. Her muscles relaxed immediately, but it was more than that. She felt herself opening again, letting go of stress, letting go of fear. Every careful movement, every steady hand on her back made her feel a little more alive as he worked. She found herself noticing him more. His expression, the patience in his movements, the quiet confidence in his presence. She realized she had been starved for connection, for someone who could care so gently and purely. And she wanted to be near it again, wanted to let herself feel it fully. At one point their hands brushed again. It was accidental, innocent, fleeting, but her heart reacted. She didn't pull away, and he didn't either. That small moment made her acutely aware of her own longing. Not for him in a romantic way, not exactly, but for the feeling of being seen, of being understood, of being cared for in a world that often ignored her quietly. "You seem lighter today," he said again, quiet, almost hesitant. Emily swallowed, emotions knotting in her throat. "I feel better," she whispered. "Because of you." The words were out before she could stop them. Adam paused, listening, nodding slowly. "I'm glad," he said. "I just hope you can carry that feeling with you." There was nothing else to say. They didn't need to cross boundaries, didn't need to make it more than it was. It was enough. The session ended. Emily walked to the door, trying to steady herself. Her chest felt tight, alive, full of emotions she didn't fully understand. He said quietly, "I'm here, Emily, anytime you need someone to talk to." She stepped outside again into the city, breathing in the cold air, feeling the weight of life slightly lighter. Something had changed in her. She didn't know what it meant yet, but she knew one thing clearly: the calm, the care. The presence of someone who simply understood her had opened a door she didn't know was closed. Emily returned to her life with a new awareness. Each day, she noticed herself thinking of Adam, of the massage, the way someone had cared for her without expectation, without judgment. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. And even if it was complicated, even if it was confusing, even if it was scary, she didn't want it to end, because sometimes peace has a way of opening doors you never meant to walk through. And sometimes, when someone touches your life in the simplest, gentlest way, it can awaken emotions you thought you had buried forever. And Emily knew she was already halfway through the doorway.